Hello, everybody, and welcome to the episode. I have a question I'd like to ask you and see what your take on it is. Are you torn between living the life of your dreams and really doing what it is you desire? Or are you just working to make a living? Is it possible to have abundance flow if you do what you love? Now, in this episode, we're going to explore this concept. We're going to explore the possibility of having abundance and prosperity spiritually and financially with the guests that I invited on. So, welcome to Creative Visions TV. I'm your host, Karen Dahlman, and I'm super excited that you joined us today. So, our guest is going to get into this topic of if you work at doing what you love and aligning with that, can you allow that prosperity to flow? Now, our guest first started as a software engineer many years back. She was doing what you usually do. You go to college, you get a job, but yet she felt discontented with it. And so she started studying body work, alternative healing, and this led her to one thing to another, and finally she took that leap of faith and quit her job. Just like that, cold turkey. Now, there's a story we're going to have to ask her about. She had an epiphany in the back seat of a police car. We got to ask her what that's about and what that meant to her. But that was an aha moment for her that really changed and captivated her in her direction of her life. So now she is a speaker, a healer, an author, and the CEO of Quantum Touch, which is international, by the way, you guys. She's authored 2 books, and her second book's going to come out later this year. But her first book is called Love Incorporated, The Business of Doing What You Love. And her new book that's coming out this year is called Spiritual and Broke, How to Stop Struggling with Money and Living Your Purpose. So I thought that right now, this is a great guest for us to have on the show to share her inspiration and guidance with us, because after all, it's still the beginning of a new year. It's 2018. This year is full of so much promise for people to get out there and do what it is you want to do and own it. So to have somebody on here who's done that herself, she helps others do this. She helps people align with their true potential and then to allow that abundance to flow, to find the balance between that. I thought this is the person we need for the show right now. So, all the way from Hawaii, and without further ado, I'd like to welcome Jennifer Noel Taylor. Welcome, Jennifer. Welcome to the show. We're so happy to have you today.
Yay. Well, thank you so much. It's so wonderful to be here, and that was just an amazing introduction. I really appreciate being here, so thank you.
You're very welcome. Well, it's very interesting. You have a fascinating background. There's so much we could talk about. So I'm just going to jump in and with one of the little cliffhangers I mentioned. What happened in the back seat of a police car? What was going on?
Okay, so actually, this story is a bit tragic, but from it came like a really great awakening. And I need to give you a little bit of background.
Yes.
Yeah, so basically, when I quit my job to do what I love, I was really shocked to discover that the money didn't really show up. I quit my high-paying, job as a software developer and went into energy medicine. I quit cold turkey. And after I quit, I just noticed that I was getting into debt. I ended up racking up $35,000 of credit card debt. I borrowed $100,000 to fund our business, and it wasn't to fund growth. It was just to make payroll and meet expenses. So it wasn't really a good use of funding. And I had a car loan. I had a mortgage. I was up to my eyeballs in debt. In addition, on top of that, I had no savings. So I was living basically paycheck to paycheck, trying to do my purpose, and yet always worried about the money piece, which was, it's stressful to worry about money. I mean, I know that I read like 75% of Americans are basically struggling to get by. They're living paycheck to paycheck. They have no savings. And I was struggling this for years. And on top of that, it seemed like nothing I did could actually fix it. Like I tried cutting my expenses back, but then my income would go down. Yeah. I tried upping my income, and then I'd have these unexpected expenses that would, meet my new income. And I was just like frustrated, and I was angry at God and spirit. I said, wow, you led me to this path, and like now you drop me and you have no money. And I was just really mad. I was feeling really upset, and I was feeling like a victim, like a martyr for my cause. And this went on for quite a long time. This was my personal dialogue. I said to myself, like, I don't like this martyr thing. So then I had my epiphany, and it happened because I was a victim of a sexual assault. And as part of that, it was really traumatic. As part of that, you had to go to the rape trauma center. So what happens is the officers like put me in the back of the police car. And this happened at like 3:30 in the morning in the middle of the night in my house. And I was sitting there in the back of the police car, and just I was completely in a state of shock and just like, wow, like what just happened? And like anyone who's had a major tragedy, the first thing is shock, just disbelief that you're actually here. So I was sitting there just completely almost shut down to the world, and then all of a sudden I heard over the radio, one of the police officers said, "We're now transporting the victim to the rape trauma center." And my ears perked up, and I said, and I was outraged that, first of all, they were calling me a victim, because inside I was saying, look, I'm a spiritual healer. I teach people the law of attraction. I do energy medicine. I'm like, I had this vision of myself as a leader in this space. And yet here I was being labeled a victim in the back of a police car. And I was like, this doesn't fit my picture of myself. And it was this wake up call, because I realized that, wait a minute, how many times in my life do I still play the victim? I'm like a victim to my finances. I'm like a victim to all these unavailable men I've been dating. I'm like a victim to this. I'm actually putting myself in the victim role myself. And this was an extreme wake-up call, because I realized, well, I'm teaching that we create our reality, and yet here I am playing small in these certain areas of my life, especially with my money. I was feeling like a victim to God, victim to my circumstances, a victim to like the government or the system, the tax paperwork and whatever. And I'm like, this has to stop. I can't teach that we create our reality, that we're responsible, that we can create a joyous life, and then play the victim at the same time. I'm being a hypocrite. So anyways, at that moment, after that realization, I say, I'm done with this victim consciousness.
What does that look like when you know you're done? What does that look like? What does that feel like? Because I think a lot of people can relate where they want to blame a lot of things happening to them, but I want them to hear what happened for you. It was a wake-up moment, but what did that look like and feel like, so they can start to recognize that in their own lives?
Well, the first thing is awareness, like any addiction, because I feel like sometimes that victim mentality is just our projection into life. So like any addiction, whether it's alcohol, sugar, or whatever it is, it's like first thing is like an awareness. Like, okay, I am addicted to being a victim. This is comfortable for me. And the realization that anytime I had this victim-y thought after that, at least I had an awareness that, yes, this is my state of projection. This is what I'm projecting in the universe, that I'm a victim. So the first step is just that awareness. And what this looks like on a practical level is anytime you say, oh, woe is me, or my life sucks, or I'm depressed, I don't have any power to change it, my finances will never change, I'm stuck in a relationship that I don't like, or whatever it is that you feel stuck, or like a martyr, or you feel like powerless to change, that is victim consciousness.
So hear yourself first say it and recognize it and say, okay, I caught myself.
Yes. The first step to catch yourself.
All right.
It's anytime you're trying to, give up an addiction or whatever, first the awareness that you're acting in an addictive, unhealthy pattern. So that's the first thing. Now, how to change that is then to say, all right, I recognize that I'm a victim here. That one little step of awareness is really enough to really just shift your perspective and say, wait a minute, no, I'm not. And sometimes this is like a battle. Sometimes I see this on occasion. I'm like, oh God, I feel like I'm stuck in this situation. But then I catch myself and say, no, I'm not. I can change this. I have the power to change this. And so I'm really about people's personal empowerment, no matter what is going on, no matter how hopeless it seems, because my finances seem completely hopeless. So, and it's just the willingness to take responsibility, like the universe, I feel like rewards that.
It rewards that active phase of saying, here I am, I'm showing up, no longer this. I recognize when I say that I'm a victim, but then here I am, what's next?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that in itself, like the willingness to own it, actually starts to shift it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I've noticed. Like every time I'm willing to own an issue in my life that I don't like and say, oh, look, I created that. Oh, that's interesting. Why did I create that? Let's
Okay.
look back. Let's say, oh, this, what script am I running to create that? Once you're willing to own that and say, okay, that's the script. Oh, I got that from childhood. That was a pattern that I learned from my parents. Being willing to trace it back and taking ownership of like, say, yeah, it's interesting. I own that pattern. Things just start to shift naturally from just that ownership piece.
So when you had this wake up moment, aha, in the backseat of the police car that you said, oh my God, I've been seeing myself as a victim. I've been playing out that role. How did you shift from that and being all the way in debt, having these not good relationships, the attack? How did you shift from that to all of a sudden, becoming a strong healer, getting out of debt, really following your passion, what you love in your life, and making money doing it? How did you get from there to there? A to
First,
Z.
A to Z, right? So first
Yeah.
of all, process, because like changing the way I relate to the world, like anyone, changing getting out of an addiction, changing your relationship to the world is a complete restructuring of your person, and so it's not like this overnight, all of a sudden, okay, now my life is good.
Right.
When anyone tries to give up alcohol, for example, they realize, oh, I got to change my friends, my lifestyle. I got to stop going to the bar. Like they completely restructure who they are. I think that's why addiction is so hard to give up, because it requires you to completely restructure who you are. So it's not an easy process. It wasn't an overnight process. So the first thing I really had to look at is the question that I talk a lot about in my book is, do we really create everything in our life?
Ah.
And it's a question that I think is, I mean, how deep does the law of attraction go? And the thing is, that's one thing that I really struggled to answer, because I'm like, if I really create everything in my life, that means I created this sexual assault. It doesn't mean that wearing short skirts or whatever. It means that from a deep spiritual level, there was a purpose to this. And I spent a lot of time and a lot of therapy to unravel, like, why? Why did I create this? And that led to my finances too, because on some level I said, did I really create this financial struggle? And why? Why would I create this stuff?
I
And I
think you
think
bring up a excuse me, I think you bring up a really great point. And I want to kind of reiterate that. I'm asking people out there too, do you believe that you 100% create your reality, your world, the experiences you have? And let me know below if you think you do or you don't. I mean, we definitely can have a dialogue about this. I align more with exactly what Jennifer is talking about for myself. I've seen it myself. So I think these are really good questions to ask yourself. And whether or not you agree or disagree doesn't really matter. It's where are you with it? Where are you with shifting yourself from victimhood to more triumphant? Where are you with shifting your life? And I'm hearing Jennifer tell us this, that it is a process, and that it went down deep into her belief system of what she saw was happening to her in her life and who was creating that. Powerful.
it's really deep, because here's something that happened before the sexual assault, like a few minutes before, or maybe a few seconds actually. I got this message from Spirit or God, or that little voice
Yes.
that we're all familiar with, the little voice for the heart. It said, and this is really crazy, and I had to deal with this. It said, "It is manifested." And that was like my warning signal, because the moment after that, I woke up to this stranger in my bedroom. But just say like, "It is manifest," I'm like, that just it kind of I carried that into my process work. I'm like, what did that mean? And I went to all these different healers to try to unravel that. I mean, how could I create this? I think that really, because I believe that we're responsible for everything. And just to try to unravel this was really challenging for me. Could I accept that level of responsibility? And I went to like different healers, and one person said, if you were in like a bank vault with 5 different locks and it was, airtight, you still would have manifested that. And I'm like, wow, like that just completely blew me away. And it took about 6 years.
Wow.
Deep introspection, visiting. I probably spent, thousands of dollars on healers to unravel the origin of my creation there.
Wow.
And Yeah, and I finally got to the bottom of it, why I created that from a spiritual and emotional and heart level. And I unraveled it. I'm like, oh, wow. Okay. I'm finally convinced that I created my reality.
Wow, that's a lot to get to that point. It really is, and I can see it was definitely a process for you. And it's a journey. It's a journey of self healing. It's a journey of awareness. It's a journey of acknowledgement. It's a journey of honesty, authenticity. It's pretty striking that you did that. I know a lot of people out there, you probably might have something similar that's happened to you. And so it's really, where do you go with it next? And so what I'm hearing Jennifer say is, she reached out and got help and worked with people with this, and then also did the work herself within herself. And it's not to blame or shame anybody if these kind of things happen, or if you're in addiction, or if you've had sexual abuse. It's really about looking at where can you emerge now more fully in yourself as an empowered being. There's a lot of work here, and I know she's just talking about the surface of it with us for the most part, but I know there's so much more to it to do on that level. So what happened for you? Because you had already started doing the things that you love, what you're passionate about, but what really allowed you to step more fully into that and allow that abundance to flow?
Yeah, and the big piece of it was really recognizing the ownership piece. To own my creation, including, and then I realized, okay, I own that. I also created my financial problems. It's not God's fault. I take responsibility for this, because I really wasn't willing to own that either. I really wasn't willing to own much. And once I owned the financial piece, I'm like, wow, look, I created $135,000 of debt. Isn't that interesting? Why did I do that? What's the origin of that? How do I shift it? So, and I noticed that once I was willing to own it, it started to turn around already, because I wasn't putting my power away to somebody else. I was giving my power away to God. I was saying, okay, Spirit, it's your fault. You fix my finances. I'll just go around with my life. And that's, yeah.
Interesting. Well, where does God or Source fit into this picture of you, taking responsibility? How does that symbiotic or co-creative relationship work?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I feel like that Source works with us, Spirit works with us, but it doesn't do the work. So, for example, I'll give you a common example that I see. A lot of people say, well, I'm just going to wait for my life purpose to find me. The thing is, it never does, because they're really not taking any action. We have to I feel like, meet Spirit halfway and be willing to take responsibility for our lives. Because Spirit or God or Source isn't going to just do all the work for us. It wants us to learn and grow spiritually, and part of that is like learning how to take responsibility. I feel like greater and greater levels of responsibility for our life. So I feel like Spirit meets us halfway. We have to see self-sufficient.
I think so. I think so too. We can't just sit inside of our house with the door shut and hoping somebody's going to knock and say, "Hey, this is your dream job." Knock, knock, knock. Guess who? It's dreams. It doesn't work that way, and so I think it is. And that's an extreme. But I think what you said is very important. I want everybody to hear that. When you want to align with your greatest self, align with that which you desire and you're passionate about, you start taking steps in that direction. Now, Jennifer was taking steps in that direction when she worked at a job she didn't care for so much. When she was originally that software engineer, she started studying and going out there and taking classes and courses. And I know you met some people along the way that really took you into what you're doing now with the work. But those were steps you took. And then I know then she started, taking more of an ownership of what was going on in her life. Maybe you could speak to that a little bit, how people can really find out what they're aligned with. A lot of people write to me, Jennifer, and say, oh, I don't even know what to do with my life. Where do I even start?
So the first thing is, like, can you own your life? Because saying I don't know what to do with my life, I feel like, again, that's like we're like a victim mentality, saying I don't know what to do, I'm just gonna wait, for something to happen. And one of the things that I feel like is really important is, other than an ownership piece, really taking responsibility, is saying, what is my heart telling me? Because I believe that our heart actually directs and creates our reality, not just our thoughts. Like, our whole energy and essence creates our reality. So, and the heart is the most powerful part about us. So what do you love? And that's a question that a lot of people have lost touch with. I mean, in our society where we're moving around a million miles per hour, we've totally lost touch with what we love and getting back in touch with like what is your passion, your purpose. Now, everyone has one. There's always something that turns you on. And for me, it was energy medicine. I discovered that in massage school because I followed my passion. I love massage. And I'm like, oh, look, energy medicine, this is it. This is my life purpose when I discovered that. But everyone has something that really lights them up. And to remember that, because I think sometimes we totally lose touch with that.
So first ask yourself in your heart center, what is it that I just absolutely love doing, enjoying, being, exploring, discovering? Is that kind of where it starts?
Mm-hmm. I feel like that's where it starts. And some people may not even know.
Yeah, right.
It is. And I feel like one of the things is to spend some time each day doing something that you love from a state of being really open to hearing what your heart says, right?
Yeah, I so concur because and when we explore a lot of different things, it allows us to say, well, I like that idea, but that's not really for me. But let me try this over here. And then what I find is that they start to merge together and you might find something new that you enjoy doing where you could bring a bit of this, which you like, and a bit of this. I know for me, it was like, I love being creative. I love dancing. I love speaking. I love writing. I like talking to the spirits. And so I bring all that together and do it in my own way. And I know that's what you've done too, like with your quantum touch program as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, one of the things that I noticed is that, okay, so I found that I loved body work. And so I went to massage school. I went to a year-long program. And I realized at the end that I didn't want to be a massage therapist. However, during massage school, the course on energy medicine was like the bomb for me. It was it. I'm like, this is my life purpose. And 18 years ago, when I started, energy medicine was a really small part of massage school. 18 years ago, nobody really focused on energy medicine. It wasn't out there in the world. It was kind of this really niche thing. But it was it. I knew it. I knew it on this very deep heart level. Now, part of it is just following your passion on some level, even if it's outside of work initially. Mm-hmm. So for me, I went to work full time. And then after work, I did massage school because that's what I loved. And then I discovered energy medicine. Then it was done. Then I'm like, okay, that's my purpose.
Yeah, so you guys, what's cool what she's saying is she tried this and it wasn't that path she thought it was going to be, but it became an element of that, which is the energy medicine, which is really awesome because I know there's so much happening in that field today, and it has a lot to do with consciousness, right, and awareness, and allowing the flow and being in that space to allow the healing to come through for people. I think it's almost like a self-healing, isn't it?
It's a self-healing because, well, first of all, okay, so here's the trippy part. I believe that not only do we create everything in our lives, we also create our health condition. So whatever it is that you're struggling with, whether it be pain or whatever, it's like, then this is where the ownership piece comes in again. Because how did I create this and why? And energy medicine is like a real important step to me in like being able to own whatever's going on physically. And again, this position that I'm taking is a really perhaps very different from, let's say, the normal stance where people feel like they're a victim to their body.
Right.
But we're not, because I believe that a lot of these conditions are here to help us grow and process.
So then again, we might have a condition that happens, and it's not to say it's a punishment for something. It's to say this is to help us activate something within us to bring out this part of ourselves that really is divine, great, inspired, connected to source. I mean, is source, right? It's kind of like allowing you to access this part of yourself. It's like an initiation, isn't it, into some kind of newness of you're supposed to become.
Yeah, so for example, somebody has back pain, and they realize that their back pain started when they got really angry at a family member. And they processed the pain, and they never processed the anger, so then it became a physical issue, because I believe these emotional things get stuck in the body, and then it's a reminder to say, hey, you remember that thing you were supposed to process and release and forgive? Well, now it's in your body. Because forgiveness really helps us. Forgiveness is not about excusing the person, quote unquote, did something to you. Forgiveness is like releasing that chain of energy that created it. So that's forgiveness is so important, because if we create something and we haven't forgiven someone, we're still locked into that pattern.
That is so important for everybody to hear that. Would you mind saying that one more time, Jennifer? That's really, this to me, this is fundamental. This is the key element to moving forward in your life is through this process. Say that again, please.
Okay, sure. I'll give you an example. So you're running a certain energy, you're projecting a certain energy, and that attracted whatever happened to you that was miserable or that you're mad at. And forgiveness is a process of releasing that energy out of your system so that you don't have to attract that same pattern again. And on a personal note, with my sexual assault, when I finally got to the origin of my creation, I was able to forgive the person who did that to me because I didn't want to carry the energy anymore. The forgiveness was for me, not the person. I don't even know where that person is, right? Forgiveness was like, I release that vibration from my creation so I can move forward with a different reality. I release whatever that is, whatever attracted that. That's what forgiveness is to me, like letting that whole energy go. And that's the beautiful process because you don't have to continue to attract whatever it is.
It's liberating, isn't it? It's freedom. And then it's a lot more, I should say, it's smoother at times. I mean, we still have ups and downs in life, but there's like this I don't know, it's almost like a map, a map to use in life so that when things are up and down and you do have, we continue to go to the next level. And so we might push ourselves into other situations and conditions. But yet, since we've done it once before, the map is so much easier to follow and navigate as we do it. And then it becomes smoother and easier to begin to align with the divine principles within ourselves, which is our greatest joys, which is our greatest self, which is that part of us that we came here to do. And would you speak to that a little bit more about how we all have some type of purpose?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I believe that we all came in with a spiritual purpose and a mission and a whole purpose for being here. And the greatest joy that we have is to follow that. And the more and more authentic we become by releasing all the crap, as I call it, like all the judgments, negativity, all the stuff that you attract into your life that you don't like, I believe that's just within your heart, all the gunk in the system.
Yeah.
So, my whole sexual assault was due to this massive anger I had in my system, which I describe a lot in my book about how I released all that anger and stopped attracting that kind of stuff. And so once we release all that stuff in the way, we're like parting the Red Sea and we're now our most authentic, brightest, beautiful self. And then our whole reality starts to change to reflect beautiful, authentic self, including like you get into your mission, you get on your track, you love what you do every day, you love where you live, you love your life because you've eliminated all the crap and move it in with your purpose.
So what would you say, I know you're touching on it, but what would you say if you want to inspire somebody here listening today to, number one, align with their purpose, and number two, allow that money to flow? Let's get this down, you guys, into a few steps. Everybody can hear this and try this themselves this year in 2018.
Okay, so there's a couple of things where you can start. One is to start where look at everything you don't like in your life because those are clues. I find like every time you don't like something, it's a clue to who you are. And it could be, I don't like where I live. I don't like living in Minnesota in winter. So that's a clue to who you are, I believe, because it's like, well, what do you want? What do you want to create? So starting with like anything that feels negative or out of alignment or anything that you don't like is a great place to start if you don't know what else to do. Because when you eliminate all the stuff you don't like, what comes clear is the stuff that's really authentically you. So that's one of the things, even cleaning out a closet, if you really don't know what to do, clean out a closet. Because it's like you have all this stuff in there and it's like, well, what do I really like? And you may be surprised when you let yourself use that as a criteria to say, well, all these business clothes? Nope, not for me. I don't like wearing this stuff. So that could be a clue into who you are. Maybe some people like wearing that stuff, but some people may say, I'd rather wear flip-flops.
I love this suggestion, Jennifer, about cleaning out your closet. How simple is that, you guys? Just doing one thing. Maybe it's starting in one room and cleaning that room up or something. I love that because then you really can. I don't know about you guys, but when I do some deep cleaning like that, a few years ago, I just got rid of so many things. I mean, just oodles and oodles of stuff. I had truckloads coming and taking it away. It was so liberating, and it did allow things to open up for me. And so That's a great idea and suggestion for people to try.
It's really practical, and then you can get deeper. I mean, you can get deeper because then you can think, okay, I don't like where I live. What's your fantasy? Like, where do you want to live? What, when you're a child, you probably had this fantasy going on of where you want to live, and it just letting yourself at least imagine what's your ideal life, including where you want to live. So I like to start sometimes with things I don't like because it gives me clues into what I really want. Another thing, if that I do is spend some time doing every day something that I love. And I mean, I love mostly what I do all day now, but I've had periods of time where I didn't love anything, and so I'd have to force myself to spend 10 minutes a day doing something that I love because I didn't like the rest of my life. So now I'm like, I really love most of my day except for accounting. But anyway,
who likes that?
Yeah, except for the bookkeeping. But anyway, so it could be as simple as, all right, I'm going to pet the cat for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
If the cat allows that, and just sit there and be fully conscious, like feel all the fur and the cat's purring, and just eliminate every other thought and just fully connect and be present in the moment, because doing what you love can make you really present. And a lot of times just that little opening of the heart, the messages will come in, and you'll kind of remember, oh yeah, I also remember that I liked medicine when I was a child. You get these memories. When I was going through a down period in my life, I started gardening because I was like, all right, my life isn't really what I want it to be right now, so I'm going to plant a garden. Well, out in the garden, I would just spend hours out there, and just like I was like really loved the flowers. I mean, wow, look at this flower. It grew overnight. That's pretty fascinating. And then I got into that love space, and then I got this download of a message to write a book.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
It just came through, and I think because I was really open while gardening, and the messages came through. Here's the chapters. Here's your first book information. Here's what to write. This is downloaded, and that's the wonderful part about doing what you love. You'll get a message.
I love that you say you feel like it communicates. It comes through your heart. I feel that too, and I talk about that a lot on this channel. Like, I feel like it's a heart where we receive the messages, and also where we allow Source to work through us, and we allow ourselves to express ourselves. I feel like it is this love relationship with ourselves. Maybe you can speak about that, developing the heart center, developing that love space within ourselves.
Yeah, so I believe that. So we're spiritual beings primarily. I believe having a physical experience. So we're trying to integrate the physical and the spiritual, and the integration point, I feel, is the heart. So that's where your spirit integrates with the whole physical reality. So that's actually your guidance system. It's guiding you towards your life purpose and your mission, and it's always trying to get you into that. So sometimes the negative stuff that happens is like saying, yes, let's move you over here. Let's get you out of that. Sometimes people have really deep hardships because it's the guidance system saying, you're really off track. Come on, let's get on track here. So, and one of the things that you can do is, first of all, when negative stuff happens, stuff you don't like, use it as an opportunity to open your heart and say, all right, well, that's interesting. That's like my guidance system speaking that I'm off track. What's it trying to say? Instead of using it as, oh, now another pain, another pain to deal with. Use it as an opportunity for change. I do that a lot.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, and another thing is just when you spend time doing things that you love, it automatically opens the heart. I believe it's like really simple. That's why children and animals, I feel like, connect to their guidance system. Like, children like play all day and have fantasies. They have tea parties with the queen, and they do all this stuff. And allow yourself, when you do something you love, you open that childlike wonder up again, and you tap into that. And a lot of times, the stuff that you love doing as a child are really big clues into what your life purpose is.
Oh, I so agree with that. Can you guys think back to when you were a child and what you really enjoyed doing, how you like spending your time? I remember I used to love laying on the grass, looking up at the sky and the clouds and seeing if I could form animals, or if animals would form on their own. There was a magical way of thinking, but it was so innocent. And you could, as a child, remember, you could just pick up a dandelion, blow it, and you could just like get lost in it and do this for hours and hours and even forget maybe what time it was. I think that's a beautiful example that you're sharing of how to get more innocent like a child and being present in the moment, because then your heart can open, like you said, to all this information coming down and inspiration and guidance, ideas, suggestions to get back in that alignment.
And I feel like that's where it comes from when you align with your heart. I think it's really well said, because when you align with your heart and you're in your heart, that guidance comes in and you get your steps. Now, the interesting part about guidance, I find, is it doesn't give you like the end result.
Right.
It doesn't, okay, so here's all your steps, like in some kind of linear process, and then here's your end result. And
Done.
done. It gives you kind of like one step at a time, which in our society, that's kind of hard for people. I feel like, because we're used to wanting to know the answer.
Yes.
You know, so you'll get like the next step rather than the next 5 steps.
Then what do you do then to keep yourself on in that process? If you're getting one step at a time, you guys, it's a lot of patience. So what do you do? What would you suggest to keep that momentum going? Although it could be, time in between of what your first step is and the next.
Sometimes it requires patience, because sometimes things have to orchestrate.
Yeah.
But I feel like you usually receive great results from just taking each step. So for example, when I discovered energy medicine, I felt guided to go to a lecture by Richard Gordon, who's my business partner now. Mm-hmm. I went to his lecture and I didn't know. I mean, I'm like, all right, this is interesting. So you feel inspired to do it, which is fun in itself. But then I met Richard, and then like all these different steps happened where I ended up being his business partner. And at first he was just a complete stranger, but it was like step after step. But I kind of knew where it was leading. But it was just, it's inspiring just to take the steps. But then the end result was pretty fantastic as well.
That's wonderful. So it's the inspiration you feel as you're in each step. And each step opens up to a lot more than you can ever even imagine. So you never really get lost or bored in it. It just becomes a springboard to the next, or progression, it sounds like, of this energetic movement of yourself into the next phase. I see it that way. I know I've had many springboards along the way, but when I look back and I go, oh, now hindsight's, easy. You look back and go, oh, I can see how it's all connected. But I hear you saying, really be just be aware, allow yourself to be in the moment of what's next, and just go with what you're driven towards, or what you're excited about, or what you're passionate about, and just letting it unfold. Because you would have thought maybe you were going to be a massage therapist forever, and instead, no, it became this whole another level of working with energy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and taking those steps just one by one. It's okay to allow things to unfold, because usually I like to view them as magical steps. They're not just normal steps. They're like little magical things that each step leads to this amazing, when you allow yourself to do this. And I think it's sometimes hard for people to allow themselves to be open, but each step becomes like this magical new thing. And that's what I love about, because it feels so heart-opening and inspiring.
That's wonderful. So we've come to the place in the show, and I really enjoyed everything you're sharing here. But if you could give any final words of advice or inspiration or even guidance, you shared a lot from your own path and how to apply these ideas within your life. But what else could you say that would inspire anybody to right now align with themselves and allow their life to flow in that direction?
I would say believe it's possible. Believe that you can change. Have belief in yourself. Have belief in that the universe is here for you. It's not against you. And follow your heart.
Very, very well said. I definitely appreciate that message. I'm a big proponent of the heart and working in that space and allowing yourself to unfold within that space, because that's truly, I feel what you're saying. It's where I feel like I get my inspiration and my downloads from Source and the different spirit guides that I work with. So this has been a great talk with you. I'm so happy you joined us. And tell everybody out there where they can find you, websites, Facebook, etc. And I also know you've got something special about your new book that you're allowing people to get from you.
Right. Okay, so you can find me at my author website at jennifernoeltaylor.com.
Links below, guys.
Okay, links below, okay. And if you sign up, I'm giving away my first 3 chapters just to see, if you like, what I'm saying, if you resonate, because I want people to really resonate with what I'm saying before they go buy the book.
That's awesome.
So first 3 chapters. So that's one place you can find me. Another place is my business Quantum Touch. So that's quantumtouch.com. You can find out more about me there, and energy medicine. That's our whole community of people. So we have a wonderful community if you want to join that. And so those are the two main places you can find us.
And it's your newsletter. They should join on your website, right? Is that when they would be able to get the download of the 3 chapters?
Yes, that's correct. Yes, if you sign up on the homepage for my newsletter, you'll get an automatic email with the first 3 chapters.
Fantastic. That's awesome. Well, thank you again, Jennifer, so much for being on our show. It was a pleasure having you on all the way from Hawaii. It was exciting to hear you share your part of your story and how it's worked for you. So thank you again.
All right. Well, thank you so much. It was a great show. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
You're very welcome. So there you have it, you guys. Here's a woman who's out there really finding her path by opening her heart and aligning with what's true within herself. We all have our ups and downs, and she definitely shared hers as well. But what she came to the conclusion was she is responsible, no longer a victim, but responsible and energized by that responsibility to find her way in life and through life. And again, it's not saying life is perfect at this point. It's just saying now it's a lot more easier and smoother to navigate, and you really can come to a place where you can love your life and love yourself. Now get out there and go explore this expansive universe that's out there waiting for you, and may you find your alignment with your truest divine self. I'll talk to you later. This was Creative Visions TV, and I'm Karen Dahlman. Bye-bye.